Welcome to the fourth episode of the Mol België Season 14 recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who we're assuming must be allergic to horses, as he always seems to need to see a pharmacist after he's been around them, Logan Saunders.
I knew it was going to have something to do with horses this week. I thought there was going to be a pun with a gelding somehow.
Everybody knew it was going to be something with horses. Like, I would be surprised if it's not the center square of Fuzzy's bingo thing.
My exact message when I was watching it yesterday to Bindles was, they stopped at a horse farm, 3 hearts. And the guy who has a terrible habit of finding cameras in every bathroom he goes to, David Bindley.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have we had good weeks?
I did the Vancouver Sun Run.
Yeah.
You did? Your legs were aching, you said?
Yes. Well, Saturday, because I flew down Saturday morning, then went to the Sun Run Expo, and then took the sea bus across to North Vancouver to hike Lynn Canyon. And on the sea bus, there were people that were holding Amazing Race clue envelopes. So I was thinking, did Amazing Race Canada start filming? Because really, they're either going to film in a tiny town, Vancouver, or Toronto, or a tiny town that's in close proximities to Vancouver or Toronto. Turns out it was a group of Girl Guides that were doing an Amazing Race themed competition that day. And they were going back and forth between North Vancouver and Vancouver for the day, and they were getting towards the end of their competition. And then 2 days later, or I guess, what was it, yesterday, Amazing Race Canada Season 12 started filming in Whistler, so they almost overlapped the exact location on the same day with a group of Girl Guides, and I don't think anybody would have noticed the difference in quality.
The Girl Guides probably had a larger budget.
Probably.
North Vancouver paid them $50,000 to be there. And
minor boot spoilers for the 0 people listening to this that care about Amazing Race Canada at this point, but the most famous person on the season sounds like he got absolutely obliterated in the opening leg.
Excellent news.
Now, when you say famous, how famous are we talking?
Canadian Music Hall of Fame.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would say a little less famous than Julie Black, but I think there'd be a fair number of people would know who he is, especially in the Canadian hip hop community. But yes, he is in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and somebody that I knew. I've listened to his music before.
So basically, like, less famous than Heated Rivalry, more famous than Degrassi.
More famous. That's I don't know about that.
Have you caught up on Quebec yet, Saunders?
I've seen the first 2 episodes. Is episode 3 out?
Episode 3 came out this afternoon, yes. I wasn't expecting you to have seen that one.
I've seen the first 2, though.
Yeah, it's not as good, I would say, as the previous Quebec season so far, but it's basically a more dramatic version of the Canada one.
I like how the person got a higher percentage of the votes than most communist dictators do in an election.
Yeah, that was quite impressive.
20-1 vote.
Obviously, you know that the death list happened at the end of the last episode, and the challenge for this one is the Michelle Pierce-Donovan Memorial Oubliette Challenge. Yeah, that ends quite interestingly, shall we say.
Yeah, 20-1 vote, though. And then everyone just felt like idiots afterwards, saying, why did we all vote together? Because now we have 0 information in a competition where information is already quite limited to begin with. Every single person bandwagoned.
I'm disappointed they've got rid of the idea of 2 people getting invited to Corinne's office to read the diaries every week. I quite like that.
Yeah, that was a fun thing that I think works better in Quebec than the Canadian version. I can't put my finger on as to exactly why, but for some reason, that twist, I'm glad, was just unique to the Quebec version.
Yeah,
It's because Canadians can't read.
very true. Sweden's also back as well, Swedish Traitors. They did the secret traitor twist and picked maybe the two most inept original traitors I have ever seen.
Ooh.
They are both absolutely going to get banished within about 2 or 3 round tables, I think. It's quite impressive. Both of them got clocks immediately, basically.
Ooh.
Oh, and I don't know if Bindles is aware of this, as well as the listeners, but there were 60,000 people in the Vancouver Sun Run, and I finished in 33,000th. I think 33,077th place.
Wow. That's much better than your normal results.
You should have been exactly 33,000th. I'm disappointed in you.
I wish it was so.
God, you're not even good at being mid.
But I beat 24,000. I think there were 57,000 or so that finished the race. So I think either I beat 27,000 people or 24,000 people.
On a slightly related note, while I remember as well, friend of the podcast from Hunted, Rob Ellington's doing the London Marathon for Make-A-Wish this weekend. So good luck, Rob, if you do end up hearing this.
Good luck.
Other TV shows to mention. Race Across the World we haven't mentioned yet. Had the elimination leg last week. There's a pair that I fear are going to do very well who annoy me.
They're on season 5?
6.
Maybe did I already miss 5 then? I feel like I just finished catching up on Race Across the World.
So 1 was London to Singapore, 2 was South America 1,
Yep,
3 was...
Canada. 3 was Canada.
3 was
4
Canada.
was Japan to Indonesia. 5 was China to India.
Yep, spot on.
Yep. Yeah, I saw China to India 1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
6 is Sicily to Mongolia.
That's a pretty cool route.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the last celebrity one I didn't see then?
Yeah, the last celebrity one was...
Was that season
Mexico
4 of
to
Celebrity?
Colombia.
Yeah, it was Mexico to Colombia, Bindles, right. That was series 3.
Okay. Maybe maybe I am fully caught up then.
Another show to talk about, $1 Million Secret. You both need to watch it. It's been absolutely chaotic this year. First 3 episodes are out. One of the millionaires is playing very chaotically.
It's in my queue.
And off the back of a conversation on Discord last week, you will be pleased to know that yesterday, as of the time of recording, I made pastel de nata.
Ooh.
Because we were talking about general cookery on the Discord last week, and I posted a picture of my steak pie, which was absolutely delicious. I had another portion of it today. And Fuzzy said that she really wanted to work out how to make pastel de nata, and I'm like, I could probably do that. So I did indeed do it yesterday.
I ate pastel de nata. Does that count?
No.
No.
Anything else to say before we get into this episode proper?
I've got a bone to pick with Fuzzy.
Oh, excellent.
A fuzzy bone.
Not your kind of fuzzy bone, Logan.
He's smooth like a dolphin, I think you'll find.
When she was guessing her little banner pick for last week, she occasionally does one that she thinks I'm going to be interested in. Like, usually the filthy ones. And she picked last week. She picked the one of Wout hula hooping or whatever it was. I saw it and I was like, we've already established I watch Heated Rivalry. Do you think that flat ass is going to make any sort of impact on me at all?
Yeah, it was indeed Wout with his shorts hiked up, basically.
Yeah.
So it was just his ass. I will also say there is not a chance in hell she gets the banner this week, because it was a very tough choice, but it's one that I'm very pleased about.
Okay. Is it a horse?
It is not a horse. It's a moment in the toilet where, when Wout...
Of course it is.
Yeah, when Wout does the trying to get Isabel's attention thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, long hair. And then he just turns around and does the strangest wiggle possible.
I think that's the moment
so
that I saw, and I was like, Michael, better make this the banner.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
And annoyingly for Elijah, he's done his banner guess already as of the time of recording. And it is right after his banner guess. So he doesn't get any credit for it. But he turns around and does like a really quite effeminate wiggle. I don't know how to describe it. But that is the banner, obviously.
Maybe he's practicing for hula hooping.
Yeah, it just kind of perplexed me. So, tangentially, before we get into the episode, Café de Mol and behind the scenes, I would say were not as worthwhile watching this week as they normally are. Apart from, obviously, the bits of Café de Mol that Nelica from Trust Nobody appeared in, because she was weirdly at the meme table this week. Stephanie and Charlotte were the two getting interviewed, and Stephanie suspected Dries and now Isabel, and Charlotte's on Yana, but then by the end of the episode changes to Wout, you'll be pleased to know. Charlotte also makes a good point about my feelings on Julie, that you don't want the attention on you in the last round. You want to press the button, but you don't want to be the fastest and draw attention to yourself and claim €3,000 out of the pot. Dries also studied every single one of the previous seasons repeatedly to try and min-max this show, basically, and the one thing that it helped him do was try and work out what sort of thing they're going to ask on the test, which I think you'd kind of know if you've seen the show before.
Seems like it worked well for him.
Yeah. And quite delightfully, Dennis, the host, had no idea who Nelica was at all, and you could tell it. He got her podcast name wrong at one point.
Ooh.
Like, I know I make jokes about Dennis, and I know it's really dangerous because he's always in Kinipolis when we are, but I don't think he knew who Nelica was. I don't think he'd ever heard of Trust Nobody, never mind heard Trust Nobody. And I'm well aware that they are much bigger a podcast than we are, so he'd obviously have no idea who we are. But I would have thought if he was sort of in the Mol sphere generally, he might have at least heard of Trust Nobody.
Yeah. I mean, they're a much bigger podcast than us here at Fantasy TV Saracens.
Yeah, exactly. On the behind the scenes, we see that Wout is a champion speedwalker. Yana was the one who received the button earring as a gift. She got to take it as a souvenir. They were genuinely a little bit worried during the prep for the final challenge that they may have electrified the pool because one of the batteries fell in there as they were doing the prep.
Oh.
And Dries on his way out was mainly thinking, am I that wrong? He was pretty sure of his choice, and he was overanalyzing everything, which kind of explains why he was on my team in the end. And he also says that his girlfriend was proud of him for getting selected, and she filled their apartment with balloons when she found out that he'd got on the show.
I noticed with Dries' elimination that he seemed very annoyed when he got eliminated, more so than other contestants usually do on Belgian Mole when they're out.
Yeah, because he was very, very prepared by the sound of things. He'd gone into this going, no, I want to be competitive, I want to win. And he then just kind of allowed himself to get suckered into going into a tunnel.
Maybe he's disappointed too that he's in that early to mid boot range, which is typically not the most memorable position to be in on a season.
No, because this was where Else went last year, I think. And she has come back for Café de Mol. But I think she went at the end of episode 4. Anyway, previously the remaining 8 were warned to prepare their best hula hooping for the finale before they split into farmers and those who had the power to move others. At another Getting to Know You challenge, their hopes of earning money fardoed away, as the zipliners were slow to release and the farmers gave them lots of irrelevant information. Everyone had a smashing time getting run by a man named Pedro, while Yadis and Isabel's steady hands saw them earn information about them all before Abigail was sent home before the group could head south. And we cut back to the selection interviews and everyone finding out that they had been chosen. Each of them receive a call from Gilles telling them whether they are going to be a contestant or Mol. And it is day 8 in Sao Tome, but they're heading south to Evora in the Alentejo. They stop along the way at a riding school, much to Julie and I'm sure Logan's delight. And Yana rides a horse for the first time, and Dries is terribly allergic to horses, obviously.
What is he not allergic to? Even after this scene, he says, I don't know if I'm allergic to almonds. And then I can't remember who was with him. Might have been Yana, where she says, well, you probably don't want to try it given your track record. The odds are not in your favor, Dries.
I miss him already. I know I'm biased because he was on my team, but he was just such a inept allergic presence at every opportunity.
Oh yeah, and one of the horses motorboats Julie, apparently.
The motorboat challenge was 2 weeks ago.
Meanwhile, you're watching it just going, I wish that was me.
And I don't know if you're referring to Julie.
No, neither do I.
That's the joke.
Answers on a postcard, everybody.
Well done for picking up on my deliberate ambiguity there, Saunders.
Hey,
Ambiguity hasn't reached Canada yet.
So on day 9, there is a book waiting for them called The Land of the Blind, apparently the best-selling book in Portugal, and a message from Gilles saying he'll meet them at the church in Tirana. And Isabel, in the car, forgets that Yanis is next to her.
Delightful.
If I was one of the contestants and I found out it's the city of the blind or land of the blind, very quickly this is going to have a very literal interpretation.
Yeah, I love the concept of this challenge, but I think as English speakers, we're not going to have a lot to say about it.
I like how even before the challenge starts, just when they're driving to the challenge, after hearing about Dries's ailments with his allergies, he says, "Oh, I forgot my pills for balance." And I'm thinking, he's allergic to everything and he has vertigo.
Yeah, and then he immediately turns a corner and falls over.
He's like Lucille too.
So Gilles welcomes them for a day of literary fun. He's looking for 4 readers and 3 writers, and they pick Wout, Yanis, and Dries as the writers, while the other 4 are the readers in the City of the Blind.
If you were them all, which group would you want to be in?
Sort of, Dennis. There is a very good point made on Café de Mol here that if you're a reader, you can only affect 1 round. If you're a writer, you can affect all of them. It's more public sabotaging if you're a writer, but it's a more successful place to sabotage, I would say. This was going to be the bonus question on the suspect list this week, because I genuinely couldn't think of a question that would be a 50-50 split.
Well, not when there's only 7 people there.
No, it would have been if there's an even number after the episode, I try and make it a 50-50 split unless I'm in a mood to annoy Fuzzy.
So all the time?
Yeah, I would have tried to do a 3-3 split. But the actual question is, did them all wear a blindfold in the church? Which is still a 4-2 split, but, So littered along the streets in Tirana are books, and they have to find the right ones, the information of which comes from the writers. They will receive a dictation, which describes one of the 20 books on the street. Each correct book found in 5 minutes is worth €1,500. The other writers can't hear the dictation, but they can see what's written. And unfortunately, the titles and authors aren't written on the books, and the books are guarded by the most fearsome foe of all, blind people. If they tag the reader, either physically or with their sticks, they are out of the challenge.
They're the most fearsome people, so if you were to encounter Stevie Wonder on the street, you'd just be flailing your arms, screaming and running away?
That only happens in Wales.
I also, fun fact, had a chugger for a deaf children's charity knock on my door not once but twice today, and he thought that I was under the age of 30, so he couldn't do his spiel of trying to get me to give him money.
Oh, really? They go door to door with that scam?
Well, not often, but this charity have done it before, and last time, the person who came to the door also thought that I was under 30. I am not under 30, and I wasn't at that time either. But because I look young, I get away with these things.
You said it was a charity for the deaf, didn't you?
Yeah, not the blind.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm preempting that. Yeah, he even signed hello to me. But yeah, I opened the door. He said hello and signed to me. I presume you're under 30. And I'm like, yeah, of course I am. Because I knew that if you're under the age of 30, they can't legally make you sign a direct debit for charities in the UK.
Oh.
Oh, that's why they asked that question there. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't ask if my parents were in, which is good, because no, they're not. They're down the road. But apparently they, I don't know whether it's just that charity or whether it's generally, but they're not allowed to sign me up for a direct debit if they think I'm under 30.
Huh.
So if the dictator makes a mistake, the alarm attached to the reader will also go off. After 5 clues, Yanis figures out the first book that they're looking for is Harry Potter, the book associated with a fascist dictator. Julie spots it and collects it with 7 seconds left on the clock. And I was thinking about this challenge earlier. If the mole was on the reader's side, a very clever sabotage would be to hide some more of the books. Some more of the obvious ones, I would say. Because the maximum for this challenge is a little bit weird in the fact that it's not a round number like they like to do. It's 9,600, so it's 5,100, I think, for Isabel's side of the challenge. It's 17 books. If you hide, or indeed remove, some of the more obvious title and authorless books, then that's a great way to minimize money. But the problem is, the 3 people who could have done that are Julie, who I don't suspect, Yana, who I don't suspect, and Maxim, who I don't particularly suspect. So, I'm not sure whether that was a sabotage, but that would have been the sort of thing I would have done if I was in one of their 3 positions.
Yeah, imagine being the mole and hiding the books, and then Isabel couldn't find any books at the end. And then at the end of the challenge, you say, "What? You couldn't find any of the books? What are you, blind?"
Well, it'd be a clever sabotage because all the blame would then go to Isabel. Because it'd be like, oh, you didn't bring that many books back, did you? But it wouldn't be her fault.
Yeah, a sneaky way to deflect blame.
Yeah. So Jan is the second runner, and Wout is the dictator, and she's looking for Pippi Longstocking, and Yanis realizes this with over a minute to go. However, unfortunately, she's basically backed herself into a corner surrounded by blind people.
Some of these visuals when the contestants got trapped by the blind people was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, someone makes a point in the test, I think it is, that, oh, how could Yana not escape the blind people? And it's like...
There are 26 of them.
Yeah, the sticks are like 10 feet long anyway. That's a hazard. Plus, you're trying to navigate a very narrow Portuguese street anyway. Julie has to climb on top of a wall at the start of her run for this to avoid them. And even then, one of them tries to sort of hit the top of the wall because they know that she's on there. Like, it's not easy to escape these blind people.
Yeah, it's not like you could, as a distraction, say, "Hey, look over there. It's Cristiano Ronaldo," and then run away. That doesn't work in this situation.
Hey, smell over there. It's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Also, the alarm that went off was Morse code, and I don't know what the Morse code's for, but I bet it's a clue. I know someone transcribed what the Morse code was on Discord, and I did mean to translate it out of interest. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Morse code will have been a clue.
Yeah.
I like how much everyone struggled with remembering Pippi Longstocking, and how Yanis is the biggest team player in the group, so he's the only one who was able to put together that name. And then Isabel eventually in her round, but between the 4 people who were in that round, that's like, oh yeah, that's Pippi Longstocking.
So Yanis is the final dictator, and Maxim's in the city. They realise after 2 clues that it's a cookbook he's looking for, and the very first book that is on the street. And he escapes with over a minute, but the wrong book in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that cookbook is quite famous in Benelux.
Yeah, it's... like, I knew the cover. It's fairly well known. Like, the guy who wrote it has been on MasterChef Australia before. He's sort of big enough that like he's one of those people they did like an entire week of challenges with him.
To be fair, they let literally anyone be a guest judge on MasterChef Australia now.
I know. Like, they've run out of actual like celebrities, and now they're onto Robert Irwin.
So Isabel's the last to enter the city with a special assignment worth the most. She was picked as the biggest bookworm of the 4 and has to pick up as many as she can from the city. Each book she identifies at the end is worth €300, but once she picks up 1 book, she has a minute to escape and her alarm will constantly beep. If she's tagged, she loses everything, and she escapes with 6 books in her hand.
Yeah, I really have nothing to add there. Flemish, tricky words to spell.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I get that like there's, a language barrier thing for us, but even the words that sort of are used in English as well, I kind of feel like were really tough choices.
Yeah.
Like some of the spices that get used for the cookbook one, like those are words that are used in English as well. And like, I would have been able to spell dukkha. I don't know whether I would have been able to spell Ras Al Ghanoum. It felt like they were really trying to force the alarms to get set off.
Yeah.
I like how they said, wait, I think we said Dooku. Isn't that a character from Star Wars, Count Dooku? Or Traitors India, rise and shine, it's Doka time?
The Morse code translation, by the way, is S for Sierra 06, A for Alpha 07, apparently. Whatever that means. So only Julie identified her correct book for €1,500, and Isabel identifies 4 of her 6 correctly for €1,200 for a total of €2,700 of 9,600 for the challenge.
Apparently a lemon does not look enough like a cookbook.
Nope.
And I didn't know that it's not called the Diary of Anne Frank, it's the Secret Annex.
Yeah. It's the Diary of Anne Frank in English, but it's Het Achterhuis in Dutch.
Yeah.
Again, linguist, I guess, that language barrier for this challenge.
Yeah. I will say I think the language barrier worked better in this challenge than it did with the radio quiz last year. And I don't know why I still go on about that one, but
we could still follow along with this one, I would say. If you put
Yeah.
this in a finale, we'd be fine.
Yeah.
If you put the radio quiz in the finale, we'd have been fucked.
Yeah.
Jill would have had to do like proper director's commentary for us, I think, for us to even understand what the hell they were getting at. So Jill says the day could get even better as the film follows the book, and the film's usually better, and this one is called The Moment the Mole Found Out That He or She Is It. Yanis and Isabel's advantage from last week is a pack of 5 blindfolds. They will be the only ones who don't need to wear them, and everyone who takes their blindfold off to watch the film will cost €500 from today's winnings. I don't know if these sorts of advantages actually help.
I was thinking, I wonder if the main reason why nobody took off a blindfold is just so they don't get thrown off and just they were too fearful of just being completely screwed with for the rest of the game based on this one video.
I know I say this pretty much any time one of these sort of, watch all the videos advantages comes up, but because the mole will know how to act, I don't think you can really get too much out of it. And
Yeah.
do I think this is entirely honest, that this is the moment the mole found out it was them? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the mole knew already and was briefed beforehand. If it is authentic, then maybe, but I wouldn't bet my house on the fact that it was entirely authentic.
And you could be thinking that before the challenge starts, and then once you're watching the videos, then you completely buy into it and be completely thrown off track as to who the mole actually is.
Yeah, I would also say, having done casting interviews, obviously not on the same scale as België, I think when you get a call back the first time, you start thinking about how you will play the game. So I think if you don't go into those casting interviews going, everything I'm saying at the moment could be used against me in future, you're probably not thinking about it hard enough.
Especially after this many seasons where they pull something like this every year now. Like maybe sort of like South Africa, Mexico era, you probably could have gotten away with it. But, now that we've done this, 4 or 5 seasons in a row, like you got to go into it expecting something like this to turn up at some point during the season.
Yeah, much to the same effect as I was talking about at the start of the season, where you go, well, you don't really need to talk about anything you didn't talk about in your casting interviews because they're not going to farm your friends and family to find more stuff out about you. Anything that you do in the casting interviews, you've kind of got to work on the assumption it will come back to bite you. And I'm aware that this stretches over months and months and months, and you probably forget everything you say in the casting interviews and all that sort of stuff. But if you know that there is a chance, and you do get a gut feeling when you're going into this sort of a process of, well, maybe there's a chance of me getting on. And sometimes it's right, the chase, sometimes it's wrong, Jeopardy. But you get a gut feeling in the conversations that you have with the casting agents and with the production team and anything as you move through the stages going, I've got a chance here. Then you start paying attention. It's very understandable. Early casting interviews, you probably don't remember much of it, but you're not going to find out you're the mole in an early casting interview. You're going to find it out 2, 3, 4, 5 interviews down the line, probably. My process for the chase was very short because I'd already been on the code that year. It was the audition, and then I got, I want to say 10 phone calls in the following 2 months, at least one a week, going, here's an update on it. So I was pretty confident that I was going to be getting on the show.
Yeah.
I think anyone going through the process and anyone getting shortlisted each time probably should have their eyes on the prize a little bit more and go, yeah, everything's going to be filmed. This might come back to bite me. If this is the moment that I find out in the mole, then I need to have my game face on straight away.
Yeah.
Especially someone like Dries.
Is this the first time they've ever tried to do a pot train and like nobody's fallen for it?
I'm not sure, because I wouldn't class this as a pot train. This is another argument that I know you've seen, Bindles. I don't think either of the two challenges here at the end of the episode are pot trains in the classic sense that we moan about.
Yeah.
Because I would classify them as consequences rather than pot trains. A pot train, for me, is something that is unavoidable, like the Cambodia nonsense with the nuns.
Nonsense?
Yeah, it was nonsense. You're correct, and I'm very surprised we didn't make that pun last year. Because it's very much up our street. But that one was unavoidable. There was always going to be money taken out of the pot, no matter the outcome of the challenge. The mole really couldn't be stopped. Whereas I think everything in this episode and every moment that they lost money in this episode was kind of their own fault. The mole didn't have any power here, really. The mole could have power over them psychologically, but the mole didn't have power to take the money out of the pot, really.
I found it interesting in both of these last two challenges that Isabel is really pushing the group to take the money out. She is not trying to create a trustworthy atmosphere with her dialogue.
No, I'm back and forth on Isabel a lot.
Yeah.
Because she is still high up on my suspect list. She's third this week. But I am wondering whether she's playing aggressively to try and smoke the mole out.
That was my other thought too. Is it supposed to be a trap for the mole, or is she really just trying to sow distrust and say, "Oh, I assume nobody's going to keep the blindfold on, guys," and then, by the way, I'm going to press the button.
Yeah, because I know we've had moles like that in the past where they've played quite aggressively and tried to sow the mistrust. But I'm wondering, knowing Isabel as we do after 4 weeks and having seen interviews with her and all that sort of stuff, she's very competitive. I don't think she's as straight down the line competitive as Yanis is, but she's very, very, very competitive. I think she wants to win, and I think her tactic of wanting to win is to try and call the mole out, call their bluff, and play really aggressively to see if anyone piggybacks on it.
Yeah.
And use that to guide her suspicions.
I was thinking, this is the first episode I was watching. I was thinking, if she's not the mole, I wouldn't be surprised if she wins this whole season.
Yeah, I gun to my head halfway through the season. I think I would put her certainly closer to candidate than mole, and probably closer to winner than mole at this point. I think probably at this point, the winners for me would come down to Isabel or Yanis, because both of them have been shown to be very competitive, but in two different ways. And I think it'd be very interesting narrative to have those two competing at the end for the prize.
I think it's between those two and Maxim. Because Maxim seems sort of fairly smart at, sussing out the mole and all that sort of stuff, but he's also sort of weirdly competent at a lot of the challenges that we don't really draw attention to. He was very smart with the blindfold challenge.
Yeah.
Because he was, doing things like throwing his shoes across the alley or whatever to get a distraction.
Yeah, and to be fair to her, Yana was stamping as well before she got cornered by the blind people.
Yeah.
You just wanted to say that, Michael.
Maybe a little. But I try not to read too much into the narratives of the show because it's not edited in the same way that most shows we watch are and all that sort of stuff. But I think it would be a very interesting final two coming up against them all if it was Isabel and Yanis.
Yeah.
But I'd sort of come to that revelation about Isabel as we were talking. I'm like, she might just be playing this really aggressively to solidify her mole choice. Because Lancelot played a very similar game. He played very aggressively for a winner to try and challenge the mole. But it fit his personality.
I will say it's a lot more interesting than the usual strategy we get on other shows of, I'm going to pretend to be the mole and I don't care how much money I win.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that she's trying to win, but she's also sort of trying to win money as well, which is kind of oddly not something we see very often on this show.
Yeah. I mean, Yanis is absolutely playing competitively, but he's absolutely playing competitively as a candidate, and he just wants money.
Yeah.
He's sick of the mole taking advantage of them, which is a hilarious subplot at this point. I will say, Isabel is a banker. She might not be hurting for cash. Maybe the money's an afterthought for her. Maybe that's the motivation for some of these things, is thinking, well, if I'm going to win, I don't need the cash that much. I just want to win.
All I want is the title, Natalie.
Exactly. So the film completes and nobody took the blindfold off, meaning that they earned the €2,700. And on day 10, they head to Evora and do some sightseeing, including at the lovely catacombs, and splashing each other in a fountain in the case of Wout and Yanis. When they stop for a drink, Julie disappears to the bathroom, and then 2 glasses of water are served.
Before we go on, do you know why Pringles actually have that shape?
No, not a clue.
Because, I fell down a rabbit hole. Apparently it's because it makes them easier to stack inside the cylinder.
I can believe that, so they can in theory, get more in, but actually get more air in.
Yeah, so apparently it's partly to make it easier to stack, and partly because it makes it harder for like the chips to break when they're being transported, which is a bit weird because, fun fact, no Pringles tube has ever reached a consumer with more than 65% of its contents intact.
Very true.
I was disappointed that there weren't any België Mol trivia questions on the Pringles chips.
Is Giannis in this car? Yes or no? Just going back briefly to Isabel probably not being the mole. I also love that when Dries goes home, she completely forgotten whether he has a wife or a girlfriend, even though they literally had that conversation 2 days before.
I was thinking, Isabel is really competitive to the point that she doesn't even care what everyone's relationship status is.
She'd obviously ruled Dries out by that point. It's just like, yeah, I don't give a shit.
I don't need his
about
personal
anything to do with him. Yeah, he's irrelevant to me.
Yeah, Dries would not stop talking about his significant other, whose name, occupation, age, and hometown I know nothing about.
It could be a clever double bluff from the mole knowing everything about everyone, but I don't think it is at this point.
She was too busy hula hooping to remember.
Yeah, it's not as fun as calling somebody Simba.
Very true. Simran it was, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Simran that Hilda called him.
I was surprised how often they were hula hooping in this episode, just even between challenges. Even when they were walking through the town square, they were still carrying their hula hoops to the cafe.
They seem to have picked it up pretty fast.
Yeah, I wonder what that challenge is going to end up being, because it's obviously it's the same logic as Isidore.
Yeah,
in that they had 3 weeks to train him or whatever it was, and he was going to be potentially earning them €10,000. I presume that there's going to be some sort of €10,000 ridiculous challenge that they got to do that will involve hula hooping, but it's all very odd.
I think other groups in the past, they wouldn't have taken that suggestion as seriously. This group seems to be playing a bit more for the pot than some other groups we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's Wout, as Bindles and I both suspect, he is playing the hero role in a lot of the challenges. Maybe not as much this week. This is the first week where he hasn't really had a key position as a make or break hero. But his MO as Mole would be getting into the key positions and then accidentally ruining it at the end. So I wonder whether it would be something like one person has to get volunteered, the Mole is very good at hula hooping and accidentally fucks it up at the end. Something like that. So when Julie goes to the bathroom, she finds that the entire bathroom seems to be loaded up for a TV studio because there are like 50 screens in there. She finds a money clock counting down and a note saying that all they have to do to stop it is to press the red button. However, if she leaves the bathroom, the money clock will immediately drop to 0. Each time she turns the tap on, a glass of water is served to the table, and she also finds a message hidden on the hand dryer that the red button is outside the bathroom.
Do you think any of the previous moles would have tried to get that reset to 0? Do you think they would have been able to get away with it?
Lenny would have.
Yeah, Lenny probably would have tried. But the key danger position is being that first person in there, I would say. And the fact that Julie didn't do it makes me suspect her less. The fact that she didn't faff about too much and the real draining happened when Yana got into the bathroom, I think it makes Julie less suspicious that she didn't really faff about with the money clock too much. Because presumably the mole knew flushing the toilet would cost them money. But also presumably they knew that Gilles would announce how many flushes there were.
Yeah, it's the only public bathroom in Europe where the cost to use it is more than in the Netherlands.
Very, very true. And there is no one sat at the door with their hand out looking for €1. I'm presuming from a logistics point of view that they hired out this entire bar.
Yeah. Like, we see people in the background as like those shots of them walking through the bar to get to the toilet escape room. But, like, they could have been extras or whatever.
Yeah, there was no way in hell that they monopolized the entire bathroom for an hour or whatever.
Yeah. Also, can we just say, toilet escape room, this fucking show.
Very true. I love the meta of België that anything could be an escape room at this point. You think you're safe on a cooldown thing? Oh no. And I also love the cover of having the behind the scenes stuff filming now. So because the behind the scenes stuff's filming, they're always being filmed, even on the downtime. So this sort of a challenge can surprise them. It's really clever. So Giannis and Wout drink the water, and we see that when the cubicle is locked, the CCTV of outside appears on one of the many screens on the bathroom wall. Yana then goes to find Julie and also gets trapped in there. Julie locks the door, and Yana completely misses the CCTV for the first 2 times that she does it.
After being explicitly told, hey, Yana, keep an eye all around this bathroom to see if anything changes. No, just look straight ahead.
In Yana's defense, straight ahead was the money clock, I think. So she may have interpreted that as make sure that locking the door doesn't cost us money or gain us money or something.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's as suspicious as everyone's making out that she didn't spot the big fuck off CCTV appearing.
Yeah.
But also, I am fully in a Wout tunnel at this point, so.
Look, I've been in worse tunnels.
Oh, we know. So, in addition to the flushing the toilets costing them €100, if they open the toilet lid, the car boot door opens as well. And they finally spot the car boot after 5 or 6 times of it opening and closing, and Giannis and Isabel go and investigate it. Inside is a screen of the toilets, and Julie spots them with the screen and tries to mime pushing the red button. The button, as we see, because it's this show, is on the earring of the waitress, and when they pull the dryer down, it changes the advertisements that they can see from the table. How much organisation went into this challenge?
Because this one they have to do in real time.
Yeah.
So they'd have to be really on top of it.
It's genuinely impressive that they were in control of, well, the car boots, obviously just with the car key, but the advertisements, the waitress having to be on standby with the glass of water. I'm not sure whether she was entirely briefed that they were going to be yanking her earlobe off.
No. She seemed to know they were going to press the button, but I don't think she realized they were going to be that violent with it.
No, I mean, I think it was Maxim who ended up pressing it. He sort of restrained her by putting his hand on her shoulder before he mashed her earlobe.
Yeah.
Wout then goes to investigate and gets a crash course on everything in the bathroom. They finally spot the hand towel changes the adverts, but then Giannis gets sent in as well. And they finally figure out where the button is. They just have to work out how to summon the waitress. And with one more glass of water, the money clock then stops, very reluctantly, at €1,920 of 5,000 for the challenge.
€1,000 literally went down the drain.
Yeah. So Gilles then confirms their winnings, and also that it is time to see how much they know halfway through the trip. It is time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole who have no sleeves goes home except for the mole who can never go home. Isabel says the mole was in an ideal place, flushing the money away. Dries says Julie flushed 10 times, which is absurd. I think it was Yana who did it more than Julie, but that's beside the point. Julie says Yana brought chaos to the bathroom. She helped look, but not constructively. Yana says the mole was best at the table because you could stretch the time out. Wout also says the mole would want to waste time, and nobody saw the car boot despite the fact it was opening and closing repeatedly. Maxim says he's in danger of tunnel vision, but once you're sure, you shouldn't talk yourself out of it. And Yana says that it could all come down to time tonight, which is exciting. And when they reach question 18 of their tests, there is an error. And it even has the Windows error noise, which is a beautiful touch, I must say.
They should have turned the screen blue.
Out of all the times my laptop could have crashed.
Your test results have been lost. You're going to have to do it again. That might be a good twist to do at some point, actually. The test crashes and then they got another chance.
They have to go to computer repair shop or the Best Buy.
No, I was just thinking they reboot the computer and then they have another chance with exactly the same 20 questions.
Just do the test at the start of the episode, then do the test again at the end of the episode and count all 40 points.
Yeah. 20 future questions.
Yeah. So it's 20 future questions, 20 past questions, but they're the same questions.
I think those are called past Fragen.
So Gilles tells them there was an error and only 17 questions were examined. Each of them has a button which is invisible to everyone else, and if no one presses it, the scores will stay the same and they will earn money for the pot. If someone does press, they will answer the missing questions, but it will cost money from the pot. This is a very interesting challenge. As I've alluded to already, it's caused a lot of lively discussion online as to whether it's fair for there to be a potential €12,000 swing here.
Yeah.
My policy on it is the mole individually could not cost the group money here. Because the way that this challenge is set up, the worst the mole could do personally was make them break even. If everyone played ball in the first 2 rounds, and then the mole was the only one to push the button in the last round, they don't win or lose any money.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this is a bad challenge and a bad mechanic. The money coming out of the pot is entirely because of the group themselves.
What if somebody says, "Oh, you're just biased"?
I mean, I am biased, but because obviously we love België and we love the production team and they're lovely to us, and we fight to the death for them. But
I didn't agree to that.
It was in the contract that you signed with Blood last year. Sorry.
Oh man. Hopefully, no one tries to attack Jill the Papa Bear while we're in Antwerp, and then I have to jump out in front of him like a Secret Service agent to protect him.
Did you not wonder why Jill bought you so many beers last year? Yeah, I don't have as much of a problem with this as I do with Vidum's repeated pot drains, because it was entirely avoidable. It was the group's own fault that money came out of the pot because of how this challenge is set up. Do I think that it was maybe a bit too lucrative a challenge either way? Yeah. Normally they would play this sort of a challenge for $3,000 total. But I think even if the mole pushed the button in the last round, they couldn't cost the group money practically. And I think that's an important caveat.
I do think the problem here is the stakes rather than the challenge. I think if they'd stopped at 16 instead of 17 and then done 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, I think that would have felt a little bit more balanced than what we got. But I think when you're losing basically €5,000 in 2 rounds, I think that makes it feel a little bit not quite unfair, but it felt like something was kind of a little bit off.
Yeah, it's worth saying that outside of a handful of België episodes that we've covered, this is potentially the most lucrative episode that we've ever covered of this version of the mole. There's €20,600 are on offer in this episode.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's an indicator that we're going to keep seeing these zero amounts thrown about for the rest of the season. Makes you wonder if they've got a bigger budget this season than they did with Thailand, given that Portugal is just so close by and generally one of the cheaper places to visit within Europe too. That they're able to say, okay, we'll give out €20,000 this episode. Who knows how it'll play out? Another 15 or so the next.
I mean, obviously, stuff like the very first challenge of the season, the 10 grand one, that was never going to get won ever.
Yeah.
But it was on offer. Usually they budget for about 100 grand a season.
Yeah.
They're on course for significantly more than that at this point. They're on course for somewhere about 115, which is quite large for this show, comparatively. I do have the maximums on other documents that I don't have open right now, but I don't remember them outside of the big Greece €1 million challenge in the finale. I don't remember them having topped 120 grand as a max for a season.
Yeah. I do think the large maximums are sort of partly a result of the challenges being designed that you can't really win the maximum amount. Not only the opening challenge, but I don't think they were ever going to come close to the 9,600, whatever it was in the book challenge, because the last round, you've got 60 seconds once you pick up the first book. So you've got basically got to run around trying to find 17 books on a street, which isn't going to happen anyway, even if you don't have to avoid the blind people there. I think they did pretty well just to get 6, to be honest. You probably say maybe 10, maybe 11, but they weren't going to get 17.
I've got the list up of the maximums now. België, Greece actually ended on 118,635 as the max. That's the most in the reboots. The nearest one after that is Argentina with 107,500. And we're on course for about 115 this season, give or take. So that would be the largest non-twist one.
Yeah, so basically this is... It's got a prize equal to pretty much everything Vidum has offered this entire decade.
Yeah, pretty much. How would you play this challenge as a mole?
Yeah, would you want to be the one to open Pandora's box, so to speak, and be the first one to press the button and then let everyone else start fighting in the subsequent rounds? Which is probably what
Yeah.
you're thinking, Michael, given the tunnel that you're currently in.
Well, even before the challenge, that was what I thought the best plan was for the mole, and how I would play it as a mole would be to not necessarily be the first, but encourage the group to think more selfishly, knowing that there are larger prizes towards the end.
Yeah.
Or wait for somebody else to press the button and then really attack the group, which is similar to what Isabel did.
Yeah. Like, I do think, as a mole, I think if you push it in round one, that's too obvious. And clearly, so did the actual mole. But I think in round two, you kind of do what Comfort did in Arizona, where you're just like, okay, I've got to give them a chance, so I might wait a couple of seconds. But, if nobody pushes it within like the first 3-4 seconds, then I'll push it. And, if it happens to be me, it happens to be me. But the money's coming out regardless.
Yeah. If no one presses in that first round, then they're not going to take the maximum amount out 100%. So the biggest damage that you can do is ensure the ball starts rolling on that 5,000 euros coming out, because then at least it's a net loss of 4,000.
Yeah.
You don't want them getting through this completely unscathed, because then it's a massive swing up. And yes, they're
Yeah.
on 10 grand or whatever it is at this point, but as a mole, you have a little bit of humanity. You don't want them to get the 6 grand completely out necessarily, although
Yeah.
if someone presses in round one, it's a free for all.
Mm.
But I don't think that you go into it going, well, I'm going to give them loads of money. But you also don't go into it going, I'm not going to take everything out because that's mean. Like, I still want everyone to have a fun time.
Yeah. Like, I do wonder if Wout got smoked out a little bit with, like, giving them a few seconds just to give somebody else a chance to take the 2,000 euro round. But then, like, nobody pushed it, so he ended up winning anyway. And then, sort of, once he was out of the way, then you get the argument. But, like, the money's out.
Yeah, because this goes back to what we were saying about Isabel. If Isabel is doing this as a contestant, trying to smoke them all out, I think she was successful doing that with Wout. Because Wout
Yeah.
didn't speak up at all in that conversation. He didn't give any indication that he was going to press. Just did it. And I wonder
Yeah.
whether his tactic as a mole was assume someone else is going to push it, and you also push it going, oh, sorry, guys, I was just a bit too late. And you won't get any of the blame for taking the money out then. But because he was the only person, he had the spotlight on him.
It's like in the toilet challenge. Like, I know there was a thing on Discord, like, people were thinking you either want to be at the table the whole time or you want to be in the toilet the whole time. And I'm like, not really. You want to get to the toilet eventually, but you don't want to be the first person there because that's too obvious.
Yeah, the best tactic I think as a mole in that toilet challenge is to faff about as much as you can at the table,
Yeah,
and then faff about as much as you can in the toilet.
exactly.
Because you don't get the public calling out of going, oh, there was 10 flushes. If you're not responsible for any of them flushes, you get away scot-free.
Yeah. Like, I think I could be wrong. I think Wout wanted to, like, go to the toilet after the start, but then, like, the first time they sent somebody in, they were thinking, well, it's a women's toilet, we've got to send a woman. So I think he sort of wasn't able to get through that. But then the second time, he basically just made a beeline for the loo. And I think, like, once you're in the toilet, then you waste time getting them to re-explain everything they've worked out so far. But then also, you make the excuse, I'll go into the stall and, well, stall for time. And basically, you stand there for a little while. You might accidentally flush the button if they haven't worked that out and explicitly told you not to do it. Like, I think Wout probably had the right strategy as the mole. It's just they were a lot further along in the challenge than he thought they were.
Yeah, because his MO seems to be being in the background, sneakily taking money out if
Yeah.
he's the mole. And I think the button game is probably the first time we've seen him accidentally be front and center taking the money out deliberately.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see whether Isabel's suspicions change next week, because she was very much on presumably Julie or Yana with the flushing the money away comment.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see whether she changes her suspect next week and goes, well, Wout exposed himself. Because this is about the sort of time in the season where we do tend to get authentic confessionals from whoever ends up winning being on the right mole finally.
Now, just to clarify, when you say Wout exposed himself...
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Fuzzy's banner choice is already confirmed there, Bindles. Yeah, I think it's... a lot of my suspicions of Wout, I will say, do not come because it's Wout, and I'm retrofitting my suspicions based off of that. A lot of my suspicions come off me going, well, how would I play this as a mole? And then he ends up doing pretty much what I would do.
Yeah.
And I may be completely on the wrong tunnel. It may be that Saunders somehow redeems himself and it is Julie. Spoilers for his suspicions. But I can't see anyone other than Wout at the moment. In a Dries-like fashion. So, as we said, round 1 ends with €1,000 going in the pot as no one pressed the button. The second round is for questions 18 and 19 and €2,000 either in or out of the pots. Someone pressed, and that someone was Wout, meaning that he gets to answer the 2 extra questions sitting in Jill's chair. The final round is for all the remaining questions and a €3,000 swing. Wout pressing lets the genie out of the bottle, and there is, I think it's fair to say, some tense discussion, mainly led by Isabel again. And someone once again pressed, multiple someones in fact, but Julie was the fastest. And that means that they lose €4,000 of 6,000 in this challenge. They earn €620 of 20,600 for the episode, and €6,420 of 56,600 for the season so far.
How appropriate for this to air right around 420.
Yep. It's almost like it was deliberate. It's a clue.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the pot.
So that's why you call it Kitty rather than the pot, Bindles. So Jill tells them it's rarely been simpler in the mole, don't press the button, and now almost all of their hard work this episode has gone, appropriately, to pot. Some of them did a shorter test, and makes it unpredictable. I will also say his speech here is delightful because it's basically a callback to his speech after the toilet escape room challenge, where he said that rarely has a challenge on the mole been this simple, press the button.
Do you think that for the next 10 years, Isabel's going to keep bringing up that Dries wasn't willing to go for his own press the button after the 8.4 second debacle? She keeps throwing that number in his face.
Yeah, she's just very competitive, I think. I'm not sure I'd want to play board games with her. I think it would end with her stabbing me.
Dries would be allergic to the material that the board is made of.
Yeah, very true. Unfortunately for him, it'd be cork, and he wouldn't know where that came from.
She would insist on being the banker when you play Monopoly. I did like that question 20 seemed to be, was the mole the fastest pusher in any round? Which that's like the sort of sneaky, clever thing that I like this show for. I mean, it really only works as a question if more than one round is lost. But if that last round is the only one that somebody presses the button for, it basically works as a free point, which is also its own kind of clever.
Yeah. The problem with the amounts in this challenge, I think, for me, is that, as Dries says, you're not guaranteed to get anything right. The price of a pass frog in here is astonishingly large.
Yeah.
Compared to normal. That's the issue, I think, is that actually if you're treating it like a pass frog, €3,000 is a lot of money to spend on one free point on a test. And multiple people were willing to do that, which means at least one candidate did that, regardless of who the mole is. So Julie, Wout, and Maxim all get green screens before Dries is sent home, giving Logan Saunders a reprieve for the first time this season.
And the whole episode, I thought Yana was going to be eliminated. She was getting a big boost in airtime, so I thought, oh no, Yana's going to go home.
I must admit, after the Venom debacle this weekend for you, I was kind of hoping that Yana would go just so I could make double wipeout jokes at you.
But yeah, the whole time thinking, why is she getting so much content? I don't like this. I don't like this.
It says no Logans. We're allowed to have one.
Yeah, no Homers. I like how, I don't know if you two noticed this, when everyone else is talking about Dries, Julie says, I never laughed so hard than when Dries jumped 3 feet in the air during the Operation Challenge. They show the clip. Dries didn't jump at all. He screamed, but he didn't. There was no jump, maybe a centimeter off the ground. But it was definitely not. It was definitely not a 3 foot or a 3 meter jump.
He screamed and then Julie jumped, I think.
Yeah.
I love that her favourite moment of him was when he jumped into the air, and his favourite moment of him was being buried alive for the bastard seagulls to get.
Yeah. If only we had a Logan Saunders phrase for this.
It is a kink. Speaking of which, Papa Bear tells him, so I guess you're known for your big guitar.
They did on Café de Mol show off the picture of him with his massive guitar.
Just a big novelty-sized guitar that he'll have with him now.
It was a picture that his friend took that he said was the money shot, which I'm not sure is the right term for it. But it was him pretending to play the guitar with the Christmas tree behind him.
And then of course, Isabel with his, he is crazy about his wife, girlfriend, or spouse, or partner, or whoever the hell the person is that he is with.
It's such a sneaky, funny joke that knowing that Isabel does not give a shit about Dries in the slightest here.
He's crazy about his partner, insert name here.
I just love it because he spent minutes, literally 2 days before this, to her going, I really love my girlfriend. I've only been with her since January, but we're going to get married. We're going to have kids. She's the best. She's my soulmate. I just love that she just did not take any of that in. Doesn't give a shit about his Tinder picture. Doesn't give a shit about anything else to do with him. It's just, yeah, he wasn't the mole. Don't care about him.
He sneezed a lot.
Love it. So he also nearly puts Gilles back out with his suitcase, which made me laugh. But Gilles like, fuck off. Traditions must be respected. I must carry your bag to the car.
Yeah. He must carry your bag to your car. He must laugh at Michael at the finale.
Well, hopefully that tradition doesn't get respected this time. That's what we're all hoping for.
Fuck off. I'm not hoping for that.
You are. The best case scenario, as you well know, is me being right and Logan being wrong.
The best case scenario is me being right and both of you getting laughed at.
Yeah, but you're in the same mold as me. That's physically impossible right now.
You don't think I'm going to change out of spite?
Oh, I'm sure you will. So, next time, visitors are on their way. There are tennis balls, pasta, washing lines, tight ropes, and Yanis sticks his head in a washing machine. So, as we've alluded to already, on the pool, Logan gets a reprieve as I lose my first team member, leaving me with just Wout and Yanis. Bindles has his full team, Isabel, Julian, Maxim, which means next week, Bindles is playing for the first finalist of the season, and Logan's hopes still all rest on the shoulders of Yana. On first suspicions, Dries was only suspected by one person as a first suspect, which is Elijah, while 3 people, Walter, Fuzzy, and Abe, all had him in their bottom 2. Unfortunately for me, Femke is now the sole leader on first suspicions with a perfect score of 21, while on the other end of the scale, Logan's also had a bad week as he's drifted further away from his nearest challenger with a 3-point lead on his nearest rival for last place.
Huzzah!
I mean, you're consistent, if nothing else, Saunders. You've been last for 3 weeks at this point. And technically 4 weeks, actually, because you were equal last in the first week with everyone else.
Where's my bullet bill?
The adjusted scores are now 2.47 out of 6 for Maxim, 2.93 for Isabel, 3.07 for Wout, 3.87 for Yana. Yanis leapfrogs Julie into 5th place with 4.27 and Julie's on 4.4. And as always, you can give us your suspects by playing Suspect List for both Vidum and België at the link in our bio. The questions this week are, did the mole have to wear a blindfold in the church for België? And the Vidum question is whether the mole was above or underneath the water. The suspicions for Flanders last week were Isabel with 20%, which was up 9 on week 2. Maxim and Yanis both on 15%, down 5. Wout on 15%, up 2. Yana on 12% plus 3. Julian 11 plus 4. And Dries on 11 minus 2. And the Café de Mol suspicions on Sunday evening were Isabel on 22%, Wout on 20, Yana on 19, Maxim and Yanis on 14, and Julie on 11. Final 2 questions. Who do we suspect? And who is going home next week?
I fear I'm losing my whole team next week. I fear that Yana's going to be going home. My suspect list is Julie, then Maxim, then Isabel, then Wout, then Yana, and then I had Dries in the 6th spot, and then Yanis in dead last. And yeah, I think Julie is just doing a lot of sabotages, but not really being held accountable for it for the most part.
If it is Julie, it's a hell of a tactic to press on that last round, because if you go into it, sorry Bindles, I know you need to do your suspicions in a minute, but if you go into it knowing that Gilles going to say whether one person or multiple people were button presses, I don't think the mole's tactic there is to press it first. If you're going to press on that last round, you don't want the spotlight.
Yeah, but Mole always ends up in the spotlight at least once each season.
Yeah, there's a difference between being in the spotlight and being in the spotlight on that last round when everyone has to sit there watching you do your questions. I think it's a different level of spotlight than a mole would normally go for. Not disavowing you of your notion, but I think if Julie's the mole, she maybe played that tactically wrong. Anyway, your suspicions, Bindles.
Wout, Isabel, Julie, Giannis, Maxim. I don't know who's going home next week. I think it's interesting that we didn't hear Giannis' suspicions this week. She just got the generic, I don't know who's going home sort of speech in the test sequence. And that could either be, she's the mole and she's bamboozled us all and she just doesn't care about suspicions. Or it could be she's so far off the mole that they can't even pretend to make this sound like she has a chance. I'm going to say she's going home just because that would make me absolutely delighted if the Logan Saunders humiliation jamboree continued.
Yeah, because on the Vidum pool note, Michelle is aware of what's happened on the pool. She's delighted that she has not laughed for the first time since 2021. She is well aware that her team are going reasonably strong, albeit, with two people who definitely aren't the mole. But she's guaranteed a second place for the first time in years, and you're guaranteed last because you've already been wiped out. My suspicions are Wout, Maxim, Yana, Isabel, Julie, and Giannis. Giannis, I mean, I haven't changed my mind from last week. He's playing it like a true blue candidate.
He was a team player all throughout this episode.
He was genuinely very pissed off when anyone pressed the buttons. There is a delightful reaction shot that I sent to Bindles that I'm inevitably going to keep memeing because he was just so furious with everyone for costing money. He proved how competitive he is last week and how much he wants to play for the team. As much as he's on my team, I sort of need him to stick around because he'll be my 0-pointer until he goes home. But I don't think he's the mole. Julie, like I said, if she's the mole, I can't see her putting herself in that position.
She was a lot more visible this week.
She was. I mean, one thing that I basically said last week was that I didn't suspect her because she just hasn't been in the episodes. She was kind of in the episodes by virtue of the fact that she was the first person in the bathroom, I think.
Yeah.
But if it is the mole and you know that multiple people are probably going to press in that last round, I don't think you try and win it. I think you try and be second, third, fifth if you need to be. But I don't think you go to try and snipe those questions out of anyone as a mole. And then, Isabel and Yana are tough because I just can't see Isabel at the moment being anything other than a candidate because she's playing aggressively to try and smoke the mole out, I think. Yana was very low last week for me, but she did a couple of weird things this week that makes you go, maybe she should be a bit higher than I'm giving her any credit for. And then it's between Wout and Maxim for me right now. It's Wout with a big old gap to Maxim. But if Wout went home next week, I think I would suspect Maxim as my number one just because he's the most suspicious of them at this point. But I've been wrong multiple times when I've gone to the finale, so don't take any of my suspicions as something you should be following. And my suspicions on who's going home is I think it's going to be Julie or Yana.
Yeah.
I think Isabel and Giannis are probably in it for the long haul. I think Wout's in it for the long haul. I think it's Julie or Yana. I think Julie and Yana are probably the next two to go, to be brutally honest, in some order. Anything else to say about this episode?
No, I'm good.
No, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. So did I. And we're only 4 weeks away from the finale now, Sonas, and being cackled at.
God, it was really weird sort of going from this to watching Vidum and just realizing sort of how much better this was compared to that.
I know I said this to you, Bindles, but we have dodged a bullet not doing this Vidum season.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much I could get out of it.
Yeah. Have you seen this week's Vidum, Logan?
No. I'm a couple weeks behind.
Don't.
Yeah.
It's not
How do I put this politely. So they had a challenge that was basically do something for 20 minutes, and it felt like we watched it in real time.
Oh man, it's like an episode of 24, but without any excitement.
They had to put on a variety show, and it was just really awkward language barrier.
Yeah.
Bram being a weirdo, just genuine awkwardness.
Yeah, and like it wasn't even like sort of the fun. You can do whatever you want, and we'll judge you based on that sort of variety show, like they did in El Salvador. It was just, this is what we're doing. Which role do you want to fill out? And then we just watch them do that for 20 minutes.
Oh, that is a bit of an odd.
It is honestly a good stealth pick for the worst challenge of all time.
Move over hay bales.
Because it has the added fun of a maximum of €2,000 based on a definitely not rigged clapometer that Rick is standing by. And also, the wrinkle that's announced afterwards is that whatever they win is also donated on top of that by the production team to the community centre that's currently hosting them.
Oh, Rocky's going to be pissed.
So basically, it's a challenge where there's not really anything they can do that the mole can't sabotage that, isn't entertaining to watch. Like, it managed to suck in about 4 different ways.
That's impressive even for a Vidum that doesn't involve your Owen.
Meanwhile, here we got a toilet escape for him, so obviously this one wins.
Yeah. It's appropriate that Vidum went down the crapper this week. So, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 14 recap. We'll be back next week to continue the hunt for our newest mole in Portugal. Don't forget, you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform that isn't TikTok, where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors and give us your suspects by playing suspect list for both Vidum and Demol at the link in our bio. Thank you, as always, to the Legion of Subtitlers. We'll see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
After watching Jana's hula hoop, I'd like to retract my previous comments about the Belgians' competence at thrusting.